Good morning, everyone. It's 10, and here we start our first episode of Ringside View, fireside chat on the uh, most relevant topic. My guest today is Mr. Thampy Koshy. Mr. Koshy, welcome to the show, or rather the fireside chat. To say the least about Mr. Koshy is that he is spearheading one of the most ambitious projects in India today of democratizing the e-commerce. What does it mean? How will it happen? And what impact will it have is what we all are here to understand from him. But one thing for sure that we know is he's the man who has in the in during his career conceptualized and executed projects of equal and more significance. And so we are very confident that under his able leadership, Government of India as well as ONDC will definitely fulfill its dream. Welcome, sir. So first question, of course, is with what thought process, with what thinking is ONDC born? What are you all set to achieve?
Thank you. So what I'll do, I'll give you a brief intro on what's the thought process behind. I'm sure that some of the people who are listening might have had the opportunity to listen to me or one of my colleagues, because we had been doing a lot of evangelization in the recent past. But again, if I put the context for you, if you look at internet started as a very democratic place. If you want to create a website, you will just make an HTML page and you're visible to any browser which can read an HTML page. That's how it started. And same thing happened to even email. But when it commerce, it became walled gardens, because we had the platform approach where they've used their proprietary technology to have a walled garden or a closed loop, what you say. What does it mean? It means that the seller on one platform is visible only to the buyer on the other platform. So what does it mean by such walled garden is that the network effect will make sure that only few will succeed. Very few who have ensured that they have a large user base on the buyer side or seller side become indomitable and eventually will lead to concentration, whether it's in commerce or whether, day-to-day goods, or whether it is in food or whether it is in mobility everywhere. You see this phenomenon everywhere in the world. And the whole world is on one side trying to attempt this. The developed countries, the problem is not just in India, it's there all over. Developed countries are trying to attempt this through regulation. And India, we are trying to do it through markets. So technology enabling, markets and enabling policies. What does it mean that we are trying to democratize commerce? It's not that few entities will have the concentrated power leading into their market practices, which may not be the best interest of the larger cross-section of the industry. Today, even if you look at few enterprises practically straddle any of the segment. And that is why, while we are all might be very active users of this, because we belong to the elite, and about 5-6% of those crowd is what are using in the buyer side, and seller side maybe a couple of percent. So the government said, can we think about democratization? What exactly is democratization? I'll just, two key principles to understand. One is equality. Equality is, every enterprise, every seller should have the equal opportunity to display or publish their products to all the buyers. And it's based on whether they are good or not, they will succeed or fail. Their success is not a function of how much they can afford to pay to an intermediary, or what is the kind of policies that the intermediary in between have, and how they align themselves with, and so on and so forth. And naturally, the focus of it, even if I am running such intermediary, my focus will be to look at what is the cream, how I can get it. And it's like the 5-star treatment for the 5-star crowd, that we can do. If I just give you the credit card example, it's Amex experience. So what we are doing, equality, and secondly, liberty. What is liberty? I'll just take one more word quickly. Liberty is that each seller or merchant or the seller aggregator has the freedom to decide their own schemes and their own offers and not decided by somebody in between. Okay, just like you do in the physical market. In the physical market, the brand manager has a control. So we bring that part. And then collectively, since how do we make it happen? By creating a protocol that everybody can talk to everybody to each other. Like the UPI protocol comes in the payment side, HTML does it happen in the information sharing, SMTP does in the mail structure. This is what. So unbundling and interoperability, giving opportunity to completely transform the way commerce is done, giving the power to the brand manager and the end user. So the end users end up getting a lot of choices. He can, each of the buyer side application, when it is unbundled, a seller side application, buyer side application, will attempt to help the buyer to buy what is relevant for him, not because he has an arrangement with the seller. So the buyer application will become truly the buyer's representative and the seller application will become truly a seller application. This was the vision of the digital economy by the government of India. And they thought, since we already done something like in the payment side through UPI, and they felt confident that it can be attempted on the other side too. And that's how the whole thing started.
So you very well explained that a lot of portals survive on network impact. And they create schemes so that the network impact spreads. And that's how a lot of sellers benefit. But as I understand, the purpose of ONDC is to expand market also, as what you very rightly explained, democratize it. While you do these two things and also give a lot of choice, is it that it becomes very difficult for buyers to understand is network impact or ranking or rating is helping buyers make decisions? How would you take care of that part?
Okay, let me just add two parts. One is both. In fact, this is a larger network impact. The big difference between the former and the larger, and the former is a closed network. Whereas here, the activities of every participant drive the network. So the network adoption can be much faster. Same thing what you saw in the UP on the payment side. The adoption become faster and broader. Now, what you asked is a very important question. How does a end user who's buying stuff? Okay. Now, as I told you, when it is unbundling, you have buyer application and seller application. Buyer application is the one which is helping the buyers to make their purchase.
Can I interrupt for 1 minute? And can you give some examples? What do you really mean by buyer application?
Okay, let's try to take all the names I use are only for reference. I have neither anything against or for. If I take something that you're familiar with, okay. If you think about in the consumer product, let's say Flipkart or Amazon, or if you look at in the food, let's say Swiggy or Zomato, okay. Actually, they have, if I broadly say, they have two big components. One component is the interface that we normally use as a buyer, this side. And the other is the interface that the sellers use, their interface. The sellers use the interface to upload their catalog and receive the order and so on and so on. And the buyer uses the interface to place, make a request, search for a product, finalize and place an order. When I say unbundled, today, a closed loop, it is tightly coupled. That's why they can only talk to each other. In the open network, you can actually unbundle them both. So just let me take an example of some buyer side and seller side to help you understand. Any application, in the buyer, let me start with buyer application. First, the big one and then the small one. Just show you the diversity possible. Let's take, there are different enterprises today which are digital consumers, not for e-commerce, but for their business. Bankers for their products, telcos for their products, fintech for their products. They all have significantly large buyer base to meet, and this buyer base are serviced with the products that they handle. Imagine, let's take an example, SBI, become a, today want to give, e-commerce. Or let's say Paytm wants to give e-commerce. They will have to go and tie up. In the current model, they have to list all the sellers.
Mm.
They have to go and have a relationship with all of them. They have to have a IT infrastructure integrating them together, all of them.
Mm.
And okay, so one, that is not their expertise and that's not what they're comfortable. And how many places they can go and ask them to link. Now you
Sure.
think from a seller says, how many places I can do this exclusive arrangement? I can't do this. He will not even do it. It will become too expensive.
Mm.
Now in the open network, every seller has made their catalog visible through an open protocol, which means that let's say Paytm can say, hey, I only need to give a buyer interface. And with that buyer interface, based on what the buyer wants, I can search out and get him what is needed.
Mm.
Now, since his only loyalty is to the buyer, because where does his client come? I mean, where does he make his money? Some small transaction fee that he can get and probably other complementary service that can be. So he becomes very, very loyal and he will try to make his buyer interface so intuitive and helpful for the buyer to make the right choice. He says, let's say that I want to have a mobile phone. They say, hey, what's the range you want? Shall I give it based on the rating, on the day, time of delivery? Or shall I look at some, a network-wide rating? Or should I show you some, reviews from somewhere else? Because he has to make sure that the buyer is happy. So he will go extra because he has no seller to push. He doesn't have, hey, by the way, why don't you take a Samsung big? No, he will not tell that. He may say that is because it's good, but not because he's got any arrangement with them. So that is why there you will see a lot of innovation and specialization happening that side. This I gave you on an existing player. Let's say an HDFC bank become, they are not, they are planning to. Let's say they become a buyer application. I am their client. So that's why I'm using that as an experience, the banking side. Let's say tomorrow they have extensive information about me because I'm their client for the past so many years. Now they can say, Koshy, it's high time you buy a new mobile phone. Last year you went for a holiday with your wife to, let's say, Jammu. Why don't you this time go to Sri Lanka? I mean, he has the full detail about me, which I have given. He's not taking it from anywhere else. So he can bring those, and I can also I can help you to get a ticket. I can help you to book a hotel because the network is universal. It's for everything. Hey, by the way, if you want to plan to go to a US trip, your daughter is there. Why don't you go to a US trip? Maybe if you want a temporary loan, I can give you. So these kind of innovations come. Or there could be somebody creating an innovation in Delhi, saying that, we are trying to create a buying application only for non-resident Mallus. They can help, we can help them. When the Onam comes, we can help them to search out the Veshti that is needed from Delhi. Now, I'm just telling these are the possibility. And that is the way that we will see the transformation in the coming years.
So which means a buyer app is not a predefined, well-known, largely used platforms. A buyer app can be completely new owner who has a lot of buyers digitally using any product.
Yep.
And then with the help of data analysis, it can expand the offerings.
Yes.
Okay, can you give me some example of how the seller side app with unbundling will work?
Seller side app also, let me just give you some examples. Okay. Let's take the case. I mean, I'm talking the real example. There was a company called Go Frugal. They were in the business of creating POS solutions to groceries. Okay. So, point of service, do them sales, billing and all of that. When the ONDC came, they said that I'm going to make this software ONDC protocol compliant. Suddenly, those sellers are visible on the network. Okay. So I'm talking about a smaller person. And somebody like large enterprises like ITC and HUL says, can I empower this thing to get a lot more Kiranas on board? Okay. And interestingly, some of the possibilities that is being discussed, not even yet out. For example, all the Kiranas, let's say that if more and more Kiranas come through multiple seller applications, it could be some local coming together. Look at the possibility even for a product owner. Let's assume that I'm normally publishing a product in the newspaper. Okay, I'm just making any names I said as only, for example, Dow soap. Okay. And now, if many of the Kirana shops are all coming through people like Go Frugal in the beginning, they can even give a QR code on the advertisement, which when a buyer application just scans, he can say that which is the nearest Kirana store from where the scan happened. Uska beta aake deliver karega आधा घंटे में. Okay, so that Or let's take the case of some two graduates from IT Chennai, whose family is from garment industry. They understand garment business very well. They said, okay, I'm going to help develop a portal for the garment business to be on the seller aggregator. Earlier, if he had tried to do that, he has no way of getting the market, because the market, they'll have to go to an established player. Today, they only need to create a portal because he understands garment industry very well. He'll make some specialized one, portal, and make it ONDC protocol compliant. Suddenly, is visible to all the buyers from HDFC Bank to Paytm to PhonePe to everybody will be relevant for him. He only need to build his brand. So that's why, again, you would see humongous amount of innovation going to happen even on the seller side. We already have, like, for example, about 20, 30 of the seller aggregators have come, and another few hundreds of them on various stages of integration. And same is happening on the buyer side too. So people are realizing the possibilities of innovation and specialization, and to broad base their markets and broad base their purchase options. For example, somebody called Spice Money, he says that I'm going to create, in fact, already there, the thing, create a demand from the rural side. We have what you call village adhikaris, okay, which is actually like small outfits in the villages. He said, I'm going to help them assisted commerce to help them buy what is relevant for them, which means that there will be products more. Somebody who has a product relevant to the the village audience will feel comfortable. Your Go Frugals of the world will bring them in. So that's why we will see a larger participation. Like the UPI saw the Sabjiwala making money collection using QR code. So it's like the diverse segments will start adoption. So that's the beauty of this thing. And this is not just B2C. It is B2B. It is not just products and services.
So what is the first step for any corporation, a buyer app or a seller app to be on ONDC network? How complicated technologically it is, how time consuming it is, and how much money needs to be invested?
Okay. Let's take on the buyer application side. If there are buyer applications which already they have a consumer interface, solution on place. For example, let's say Paytm, or let's say a bank. Okay, it means they already have a customer interface portal or platform, whatever you call it, it's available with them. For them, they need to make it only ONDC protocol compliant. Like in the olden time, they made it UPI protocol compliant for the payment side. And based on how complex their solution, they can, it's a matter of maybe couple of months time with a couple of months time with like 4 or 5 coders, because they need to, fine tune their system to handle this. Okay. So that's a way. Or if somebody is going to start from fresh and building, it's about how about building. It's a matter of 2 to 6 months based on their internal system. It's not yet. Same is the case for seller side. Let's say if I'm a seller, I have 2 options. One is that I want to directly become a network participant, and I want to directly expose myself because I have a reasonably large set of business. It's worth my while. For example, let's say any chain. For example, Domino's. Okay, they have a large chain across. They can say that I'm going to just make my IT system ONDC protocol compliant so that I'm visible. Or there could be many restaurants say that I don't have the wherewithal to make all these things effort. Why do all of them? And I will join an aggregator. For example, today there are UEngage, there are Magic Pin who are all helping or Go Frugal in the grocery side and so on and so forth. Or different applications are coming. If they are going to use through an existing application, okay, and then if they have already catalogs, etc., well-established catalog available, supposing they're already selling it through some other platform, that means they will have a lot of catalogs, etc., available. Then there's a matter of few days for them to integrate. And all things, this is not a very costly, that's the beauty, it's not a very costly enterprise at all. And based on the only additional cost you will build up based on the volume that will happen in your platform. If you expect million people to come, you should have either the cloud or the hardware to take that load. So it's completely left to you. So if you want to be a small player, it is very, very small. So that way, there's no complex, IT system to be created exclusively for this. It's your system. Incidentally, SAP people are talking very seriously with us. See that they will create a plugin for all the SAP systems. Okay, if once a plugin is there, all the companies using SAP as an ERP will be able to do. Similarly, Oracle said that they are going to create a plugin. So that means all people who are on Oracle will be able to come in pretty fast. See, medium to large enterprises will have, their own systems. So these are the kind of transformation that is going to happen.
Is there any global example of this?
No, India has reached a level where we don't need to be a copy-paste economy. We are a global leader.
So this is the innovation in itself.
This is truly first of the time in the world. That's why the whole world is also very actively watching. Probably you would have seen Financial Times covered the story 3 times. Wall Street Journal looked at it 3 times. Normally, they wouldn't have bothered what's happening in India. And one more thing is very important is, see, when we started UPI, they all said it was a developing country problem because everybody had digital transaction. Here, this is a problem for them too. That's why the Americans are trying to create some regulations. The Europeans are trying to create regulations. And the Chinese said, I'll just take control. Whereas India said that we will through the way they use technology and markets with the enabling policies. That's why it's a truly global example on which we are really trying hard to make sure it works. And it succeeds. It works. It needs to get a broader adoption because we already proved it works. And as such, as I told you, in the grocery and food where we started a few months ago, and we started actively promoting in Bangalore and some cities, etc. We see something between 15,000 to 20,000, 10 to 20,000 transactions a day, peak going up to 25. We will expect that the next month it will see double. In fact, in January, it was only 50 transactions. So I can see the way it is growing. And in the mobility, when we started, in fact, it picked up much faster. In mobility, it's already doing some 35,000 transactions just with 2 cities, and majority being from Bangalore and small coming from Kochi. So we expect, and B2B, we are just starting coming week. So one by one, we will add.
So just from the question which has come, I would like you to spend a few minutes, but before that, I'll clarify one thing, that ONDC is a Section 81 company.
Section 8.
So 8 company, I'm sorry. So it does not exist for profits and dividend. Is that right? Understanding?
True. Absolutely.
Right. And one more thing that you need to further explain, which is still not, I think, very clear. What is the difference between open network for digital commerce and a platform like which we all are used to, be it, once again, let's take, for the sake of example, Amazon or Alibaba, as the participant is asking. What is the difference? And one more critical point, sorry, if you can touch into it, that who is responsible for timely delivery and quality of goods?
Okay. So let me take one. One, as I confirmed you, it's a utility, a Section 8 company with the participation of the large banks and financial institutions coming together, and to make this digital rails on the top of which there can be business that is happening. Okay. Second question was, the last was about quality and dependence. What was the middle one?
About the difference between network, as you call yourself, and a platform.
Let's take the case. What I'll do is that after this, I'll send you an 8-minute video which explains a lot of things with a lot of graphics. Anyway, let me explain to you now. If you are a platform, since they use proprietary technology, if you are a seller in, let's say, Amazon, you are visible only to the buyers in Amazon. If Amazon has 100 million customers, you are visible only to that. If Amazon also become ONDC protocol compliant, in that case, the seller will be visible to all the buyers who are in the network. So now, if you look at all telcos and all of them coming together, we are going to create a pool of 1 billion customers now. So now, if the seller can be in one platform and visible to 1 billion customers, and he does today, if I, as a seller, want to be visible both in Amazon and in Flipkart, I will have to do a technology integration for each of them. I have to have a process integration for each of them, a legal integration for each of them. Here, there is nothing. You are in one place, you're visible to everybody. Okay. So that is how. And the last one was about trust and
delivery and quality.
Yeah. So let me just explain to you. It will be a little long-winded answer to address all the broader question. And again, for the comfort of the people who may be interested to know a little more detail, we have published a detailed document on trust building on the network. And I got a lot of feedback, which has helped us to even make it stronger. It is lying in our website. Feel free to download. But let's look at see, if you look at the real market, for a second, you get out of the digital commerce, okay? In the real market, see, imagine a country with no restaurants, and the Taj Group came and established 5-star hotel. And you'll think that that's the only way to run a hotel is 5-star. Okay. So there, if I walk in, I'm sure that all of us walk into this hotel because we can afford to go in there. You will pay $300 for a coffee. And if you do like this, they'll change a coffee for you. Because their product offering, their SLA offering, their customer preference, all of them are of a certain characteristic. And for that, they will have a certain pricing mechanism. Whereas go to a dabba wala, he said, देखो 20 रुपए के लिए चाय मिलेगा, आपको अच्छा लगता है आप पिए. So sometimes I go there also, but I'm the same person, but my expectations are different. So what is happening is, in a true market, there'll be different kind of sellers with different kind of product offering, with different kind of SLAs available, and the different kinds of consumers come and happen. Now let's take a look at an existing platform, which is a 5-star platform that is there. Let's see what do they do. I mean, how is it happening? Whenever a seller goes and registers to be a seller, because I know a lot of my friends and relatives are sellers in marketplaces too, they will go and sign up a document which says that, I am giving all the freedom to you. If your customers don't like it, I'll either replace it or you can pay back. Okay. And then he has no control anymore onto it. Now, what will happen is, let's say a lead customer like Amisha comes on the buying side and say that I want to buy this, dress. And they're given an offer that you can give it back any day within the next 1 month. Because these days, one of the strategy used by many other platforms is to make all of us unreasonable buyers so that they become a monopsony buyer themselves. Okay. So anyway, and then they have the money in their hand. So if you just go after 1 month and say, I want to be within 1 month, go and say, I want it back, and they will give you the money. Otherwise, you tell the seller, boss, so replace karo nahi to paisa nahi milna. So that is how the compulsion works. It's not that they are going to pay from their pocket. Nobody is running their charity.
Correct.
As per the law also, seller on record is the one who is responsible for the product, not the intermediary. In a similar sense, the beauty about this open network is even this can work. Imagine for a second that HDFC become a buying application. They have clients like us, the elite ones. Okay. So they will, when Amisha go there and ask for a sari, he will make the offer. See, 1 month, you can just give it back. The big difference is when that demand comes, they will broadcast to all the sellers in the network saying that there is somebody in Worli who wants to buy this, a sari of this kind. But 1 month, if she doesn't like, she'll send it back. There's no compulsion for any seller to respond. Okay, it is because they are not tied up to anybody. But some customer will say, oh, it has to be a HDFC customer, paisa wala hona mangta hai. So probably there is a 20% chance, 30% chance for rejection. So I'll factor in that in my pricing. Okay. And if you just return it back and they will just give you the money back, or this guy will replace, because he's trying to create that. Somebody else will say, there could be another buying platform saying, I'm running discount stores. His condition is no return. So that is one dimension. Second is, every seller application, seller aggregator, they're not going to be as large as Amazons of the world. They're going to be smaller enterprises. When they know that there is something called network-wide scoring, etc., that ONDC creates and make it public to the whole world, he knows that he has to be very careful about his merchants that he brings in. If he messes up, his reputation goes far and wide. And then he will not be, and with no guaranteed buyers in his hand, he is dead. So because you guys are all in the finance business, I'm sure you understand. You ask any banker, where is the NPA more, big business or small business? It's the SHGs of the world which has the least amount of NPAs. Because for them, agar NPA ho gaya, to mar gaya. So that is why you would see it is a self-correcting model. In addition, like we said, we have a mechanism to onboard the seller aggregators. If they don't behave well, we have ability to tell them, please, if you don't behave well or remove such sellers from your market, it's going to be a problem, and so on and so forth. Finally, any complaint, let's say you have a grievance or a complaint that you will only go to the buyer application. And the whole protocol will ensure that just like the way the order moved, or even just like the way the complaint happens in Amazon, it will just digitally move to the seller.
Correct.
And then if he doesn't resolve it, first his reputation become public. Third, we have also provided for a integration, fully automated integration will happen in a month's time with ODRs, online dispute resolution framework, which I'm sure that you know that a lot of them are coming in big way, even in the account aggregator. In fact, we just empaneled that 7 of them into our system, the guys who are in AA. So so these kind of things will make a more self-correcting model. And the thing is, there is a beautiful digital trail. Again, since you guys come from capital market, if you remember, before in the physical market side, we used to, while Harshan Mehta times, we had a peak transaction of 400 crore in a day. We used to have a 25% of failure in the clearing corporation. Today, you have 100,000 crore happening with, if you had 20% failure, you would have been dead. What happened is digital tracking, trailing, audit trail, legal correction, immediate action, etc. They can reduce the probability. So that is how this will transfer. If you remember, I don't know whether Amisha, you remember, you might not have been old enough to start in 96. You know, nobody believed that in our country that, digital demat shares will work. Or but even 6 years ago.
I must acknowledge, I'm happy that you thought for a minute that I may not have been in business then. I'm happy.
Why I remember very well. I remember very well is because I was a part of the startup team of NSDL.
Sure. Sir, one last thing before I open the floor for question and answer. Where have you reached in the journey of network expansion or commerce expansion? And 3 years from now, where you will be, that will give you government satisfaction that the purpose with which you started, you have reached that milestone. And to satisfy yourself, what metrics would you look at?
Where will I be? I have no predictive capability.
No, what will make you happy? What will make you all as a team happy?
Or a lighter way. No?
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, I'll tell you this is, remember the old Star Trek, no? This is where no man has ever gone before. Huh?
I know.
So that's a journey.
So true.
I have no guarantee myself, but what I expect, looking at all this, like the mutual fund people says that our past success cannot be guaranteed for future. But at the same time, the way I look at it, if you have the right model and architecture in place, and which has the ability to attract the imagination of a broader cross-section of people. Okay. There might be early stage problems, challenges, but we will reach. This is what happened with Aadhaar. This is what happened with UPI. This is what happened with CoWIN. This is what happened with, all such UPI and so on and so forth. And I believe that this is a similar kind of thing with an extremely broad-based interest from the industry to have a marketplace, even in the digital form, which is democratic, which will give them the freedom, with the brand owners, the ability and freedom to prove themselves, to make it truly omnichannel. Now, the protocol has been very well tested, and it is being tested on a continuous basis. We started with the 2 most difficult one, which is grocery and food. Grocery has to be only hyperlocal, small merchants. Food is like very fast delivery. And then we added mobility. And mobility went through the roof very fast. The others are building up. Like I said, from January, we had 800 merchants in the retail segment. Today, there are around 36,000 merchants. And transaction from 50 transaction day to go to average 15,000, now peaking up to 25,000 transactions. And we also added fashion, food, all those other varieties in the last couple of months, and it is just adding. And in the mobility side, as I told you, it does something only in 2 cities, it does something like 38,000 rides a day. So and the beauty is that a lot of enterprises are coming and started the early understanding, early adoption, signing up for doing the paperwork, getting the approval. And we have few hundreds of them on the buyer side and seller side, and there's various stages of it. So which gives me a lot of confidence that it will work. And I also see that there are many investors like you started asking their investees, hey, what is your ONDC strategy? In fact, that has also started helping. And I also see a lot of VC capital seriously looking at initiatives and innovations that is happening. And so from all the interested parties, I feel willingness cooperation. And from a technology where I see its ability, it's already demonstrated. And there is no dependency on a single central system to go up and down. It depends upon the system of each of them to other. Let's say that one of them is a buyer application, let's say Paytm, or let's say they just go down. Only thing their clients will not be able to buy for that till they come up, but the network will still succeed. It is not like the central system of the network went down. There's no central system. So that is why I believe that probably from the the market penetration side, from the seller side, you will maybe at least 5 times from the current levels. Okay, or same thing happen even from the buying penetration side. So these are the way in 3 to 4 years time we would see the expanded participation is what we are saying.
Is there a way to see? You said that there are say 25,000 transactions a day in only beta launch in a few cities.
That is
that you want to.
I'm talking about peak to 25, average about 15,000 on the grocery and food.
I know whatever, but you want to go to 250 cities, if I'm not mistaken, in a as you roll out. But
no, the way it is that actually I'll again correct yourself. Well, I mean, what you're saying is we had a 2 strategy. Okay, going deep and going wide. Going deep is identified few cities to have a large merchant base so that I can tell the public you can come and buy.
Yeah, otherwise you're open for all. Anyway,
otherwise they'll say, yeah. Whereas we go wide to say that in every city there should be somebody they should feel comfortable, and if the merchants there, they should be able to tell their friends and relatives you can buy. Okay, and the presence is relevant only if it is hyper local, food and grocery. Okay, so now we have merchants in 250 cities only, and about 15, 20 cities have more than 100 merchants who are doing, even today, if about 30, 40 cities, there is transactions happening. Only thing we have not publicized, but somebody go and buy. And now when the fashion and beauty personal product, all non-hyper local become, more merchants come, then it doesn't matter. It's only the delivery that is there. And with people like Ship Rocket and Dunzo and Delivery all being a part of the network already. So you can buy the Kudumbashree product from Cochin sitting here. You can buy a Kanchipuram sari from Kanchipuram sitting in Bombay. They're already there and the merchant will bring it. So as we see more and more merchants coming in, the more number of buyers will want to experiment.
Correct. So can we say that at some point, I don't know what is the per day transaction on e-commerce in India as of now, but say 3, do you know that number?
3, I know, I'm saying is what I'm hoping. I think probably it happens 1 million a day or more than that. So I'm saying that in a few months time, I'm trying to say that this year, what I'm trying to achieve is that 100,000 transaction in mobility and 100,000 in non-mobility.
I think that means 10% of the transaction
it could be
will pass through ONDC. And if we see a 3 to 5 years, maybe 20-25% share in transactions.
No, what could also happen is the transaction may increase significantly. It's like saying,
as the access,
we are not going to take away anybody's business. We are going to expand the business.
One last quick thing before the final question. When you keep saying mobility, for the sake of the viewers, can you say what you mean by mobility and which are the other categories you want to go into?
Mobility is taxi hailing, auto hailing, and so on and so forth, like what Uber and Ola does. And when we do, what we are also going to do is currently 2 experiments that is going mobility, only 2 cities. In Bangalore, auto, and in Cochin, taxi. And soon we are going to add, it will become a comprehensive one, the buses and the train and the taxi and auto and all of them can plug into the same thing. And the buyer applications like Paytm will be able to help you buy those. So as of now, we said in Kerala, we are going to, from only taxi, we are adding the other components now. Soon we'll do that in Bangalore. And there are a couple of other cities are almost ready to launch. I don't want to steal their thunder, but they will launch probably in a month's time, at least one of them.
So what are the categories? You said grocery, food, mobility,
food, beauty,
fashion,
as of now,
beauty
and personal
and
care, home decor, fashion, electronics, then appliances, all the classic good and the other thing, and also services. We have started the working group to work on financial products to be available, and so essentially anything that can be catalogable will be available.
So it's not about industrial goods as such.
B2B is also, in fact, B2B is launching this week. Yeah, very much. In fact, two buyer application and seller application for a limited set is started. They already did a trial transaction. We are going to formally launch next week.
Absolutely. So one last question.
I'll just give you two interesting stuff. Okay, very interesting stuff, which is also.
Please.
One is that, for example, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise realized that earlier biggest challenge in digitizing the small consumers, how will you give them access to the market? Now, if you look at today's newspaper, they already announced a big scheme to help digitization of small and medium enterprises. Somebody and to integrate, I'm just giving you examples of how initiatives coming. For example, SIDBI is working very hard, working very closely to get their industrial sectors to come onto this. In fact, the whole Kanchipuram sari, etc. had been brought by them. Even if they went one step further, as a part of employee contribution, not contribution, employee remuneration. Not CSR. They gave 10,000 rupees to every of their employees and told them go and buy stuff from this small artisan who had been onboarded onto ONDC through us. Hearing this, a large multinational company like Dun & Bradstreet announced the same thing. Okay, we expect that this Diwali, everybody will be giving ONDC coupon to buy stuff from them, from ONDC network. Amisha, I will encourage you should also start announcing like this. Tell them that you'll give them 10,000 rupees to all your employees to buy stuff from ONDC network. And that is going to be, helping the two Atmanirbhar Bharat agenda as well as vocal for local and making a shine on the top.
Absolutely. One last question from me. When it's in true glory, ONDC is successful in onboarding many buyer rep, seller rep, and sellers and buyers through that. How will consumers benefit? How will it impact economy? How will it impact traders, sellers, manufacturers? And how it will impact other platforms? Four players, economy, buyers, sellers, and platforms. How will impact be on each of these segments?
See, based on the segment, it will be very different. Let's check with the sellers. Sellers, now each seller, based on their terms of trade, can be in digital commerce, not somebody else's terms of trade. And that can also give them visibility they can enhance their market. And we are also working on some initiative like giving them badging. Let's talk about, just give an example. Let's say DNB has already agreed that they will give every merchant in the system a DUNS number. And then they will also develop something like a DUNS badge eventually using the network performance, the indicators married with their financial product, etc. with like a DUNS badge. So imagine this Durga Silk today. If she wants to sell to somebody in Singapore, let's say Mustafa want to buy, they will only look at the established brand, Nallis of the world, because that's where they feel the confidence. So supposing now they look at this Durga Silk with the DNB badge, hey, they'll feel possible, and they can just place an order. Okay. Market access. Similarly, for the buyers, many options based on who you are, and not just for the elite. If you're a rural customer, you will have your kind of products. And more importantly, maybe let's assume that you are using a plan. Let's say you are there in PhonePe. I'm just making some arbitrary names. They will start giving you consumer goods, food, travel, accommodation, finance, all your convenience. Like I was just saying, when I started HDFC, I was only a banking client. And all my broking and Sham used to work with all my friends who were in the capital market. Now, when the HDFC added a mutual fund onto it, is convenience. So similarly, they will say tomorrow, they'll say, Koshy, you want to book your ticket? I'll give you this. So you would see different kind of consumers may have different reason why they're coming. So you will see proliferation of brands. And then even for the existing, players, in the long way, if they align their strategy, it is only helpful. If you remember, when UPI started, many of the established players, including PSU banks, were not very happy. But they realized how to take advantage of this. So I believe that they will have to find out a way to take advantage of this new model and being a part of this. And
we found buyer and seller advantage. What about existing platforms and finally government? Do you first you talk about the platforms? How will that impact?
So I just told you that existing platforms, if they want to become part of this, see, they like the big platform, the UPI side, SBI's benefit. They can become a part of it. They can be there take advantage of this expanded market. Only thing that they may have to change their market strategies. Instead of rent seeking, they have to look at fine tuning with respect to efficiency and cost advantage and make an offer to a larger cross section. So from 7% penetration, they can easily get 25 penetration that's happening. For example, let's take I'm just making a argument. Let's say that Swiggy decides, or Ola decides that today they want to add food. It is practically very painful for them. Tomorrow, they just need to give a front interface and all the restaurants are available now. And if they want to add for their clients, they want to give consumer goods also, they can do. They want to help them to buy air ticket, they can do, because somebody else will bring. The sellers will come by themselves. So that way, there is an opportunity for the existing platform. Only thing they have to redesign, rethink about their policies.
So then finally, for the market share of the existing platforms will get disrupted by any new buyer app offering more services through ONDC?
Market is going to expand. If the market share...
It's going to expand. And the market share is going to change. Markets will expand.
In a larger market, their share might be smaller.
Correct. That is a possibility. Plus their ability
They will not be able to get all... See, today they might be two of them might be having 70% of the market share. Tomorrow it might be only 20% of the market share. The market might be 5 times bigger.
5 times bigger. That's a possibility. And do you think that this is also one of the key enablers like UPI in organizing the economies, that everything is above board? Because when it transacts through the network, the taxation collection, etc., also will multiply?
Which will definitely help in that sense. And also,
formalizing the economy in short.
You may also see a lot of credit expansion. For example, today,
exactly.
From the point today, if you look at all the credit is only based on assets. Tomorrow, it can be based on flow. And that will become, so you will see unbundling of credit and distribution. So that's why a lot of impact is going to happen with respect to the whole way, which is making it a more transparent, fair, and efficient marketplace. Working on product quality and efficiency of distribution than on rent-seeking capabilities.
So with this I end, and I thank you, all the people who were involved in thinking about this very concept of democratizing the digital commerce. And of course, we wish you all the very best. And when successful, I think we will set once again an example for the world that we no longer are the followers. And like always in the history, we set the benchmarks as we set zero. Ram, can you please open the floor for question and answer? Thank you so much, Mr. Koshy. We will take, as per your time permitted, questions from the audience.
So we have very few questions. So here already they're lined in the chat box. So, sir, is there a cap or a bottom which ONDC will keep in terms of commissions?
No, we don't decide anything at all. It's going to be market-driven, completely market-driven. When there's sufficient competition, why do I have to go and tell somebody how should run the business?
Okay, so nothing on the commission side will come in.
No. If you remember again, since you are all front of markets people, once upon a time when SEBI thought they had to bring discipline by saying that upper percentage of the commission should be 2.5%. I think it's still lying there. But I don't think anybody is charging 2.5% commission these days in stock market. because the competition is very, very different.
So one question which I've got is, once an order is placed, how does a follow-up process with the seller on the ONDC takes place?
What happens is, like I said, the buyer application is buyer's agent. Okay. So they will continuously enable the integration and the information. Even in the existing platform, it actually works like that, except that you don't see it's a black box because it's not the Amazon selling every product. It has to go from your buying application to the selling application to the seller seamlessly digitally. And that's what's happening here too, except that they are seller application with another legal entity and the buyer application with another legal entity. But the flows are exactly the same.
Okay. Sir, another question which we have gotten is, how will ONDC ensure that there are no big, large marketplaces who actually start dominating ONDC itself? Winner takes all into ONDC itself.
Now, the biggest difference is if the winner takes it all day. I mean, one thing is if somebody decide they are going to give for the 1 billion people continuously discount thrown at the place, okay, and then it is good for us. I don't think anybody will be, anybody will plan to do that. Second thing is, that's what I said. It's all about competition. Okay, for example, no seller has any incentive to be just married to somebody who has got their control. And second thing, different enterprises there are many large different enterprises who have digital consumers. They all have the wherewithal to go and attract their own set of people. And there is no inherent advantage to anybody purely based on that we have already captured some buyer or seller. If it is not good enough, he will just move. The seller will move, the buyer will move. Okay, the biggest challenge with respect to closed loop platforms are the exit barrier for the buyer and seller directly or indirectly. The beauty and open market, open network is there is no exit barrier. Because if I am a seller in one platform, if I don't like the way he's treating, I can just shift it to exactly the same thing to another place because it's all the same process, same technology, same protocol and everything. So that is what it takes away the possibility. And there is, imagine, we are talking about every damn thing in the business. So it's not about, there is nobody who can do every SKUs in the world to run whole operations and so on. So it is going to be a very widely participated market.
But there is a question also in terms of we had initially given some incentives for buyers and sellers initially. How long this will continue from ONDC's?
Very, very valid question. See, what we thought when anything is there's a spirit called priming of the pump. Okay. So we know that we have to get a trigger to happen. So we gave actually it is infinitesimally small compared to the size in which people are doing. And it is to trigger the market. We made it very clear. And that too with only certain number of transactions from a seller, certain from a buyer and so on, buyer application, so on and so forth, just to trigger. And it is not that we did everything by ourselves. Even our market participant. The beauty is, like I said, liberation. Some of the buying platforms said, I'm going to put something. In fact, some of the sellers said that we already have very interesting offers from different sellers that if you buy it from ONDC, you have this special scheme because they all want to encourage this one because this is a more transparent and efficient system. And I expect a lot more of them to come. Just go to in fact, if you start following us in the social media, which we repost, you will see a lot of these kind of offers coming from large and small enterprises. In fact, the other day, I saw McD gave an offer for buying through ONDC, and I suddenly saw burgers going. It's not that we did some extra stuff. So it is going to be a collective effort to bring diverse set of sellers and buyers to get used to the idea. Because anything, change in habits and practices doesn't happen overnight. It has to go through the whole exercise. I mean, that's what we are doing. But this is not going to be built on incentives.
Sir, and lastly, who will own the liability if the buyer receives duplicate goods or the quality not at standard level?
That's why I said even today, who was the liability? The liability is with the seller on record. Okay. But only thing the whole mechanism will try to help you resolve. That's what I spoke at length on the stuff, including ODR at the last.
ODR.
That's why I said it's a self-correcting model with the probability of this become lesser and lesser. And the checks and balances established, again, help in reducing this probability.
But is it the vision to take as UPI is going global, ONDC will also go global at some stage?
Yeah. We'll have, in fact, First stage would be this network might be used by international buyers to buy. In fact, we will do a trial export transaction maybe next month to show it works, and then eventually, it will start building up its own stuff. And maybe, and there again, if the whole protocol, like the government took a very, very conscious view, the whole protocol is open source. Okay, if somebody, a country want what we call CCND, Creative Commons Non-Derivative, they can take it, and if they want to have an equivalent on any part of the world, they can do it. Only thing they have to, ND means they have to give credit to ONDC and India. And if they want help, probably we will charge. Otherwise, they can run it by themselves.
Sir, we will take the last question. What steps are you taking to drive better customer experience? Is there any data how many people are repeatedly placing orders after experiencing ONDC once?
One thing is there's no central database here. Okay, we will eventually start collecting from the various network participants, but we are seeing, like I said, one where there's a lot of action where we can do is, like, for example, in the Bangalore auto, which I give you, it is about 15% of the rides there. In the other place also, I can, I informally ask all this network participants, because each of them will have their own thing. I don't have any direct access to it. But if you have to do in these two segments, in these two cities, I mean, mostly two and some other cities also, it is coming regularly when people are using it on a regular fashion. And we expect that, as I told you, my ambition is by end of the year, we will see 100,000 transactions each in the buyer and the seller side. Sorry, in the mobility and non-mobility side.
Ma'am, I think that was the last question. We have some more questions. I think we'll address it by email due to, I think it's already 1 hour.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Amisha.
Thank you so much, sir. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Koshy.
Yes, we will. I will definitely take your time and come over.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, everyone, for
thank you, everyone.
Investing your time, and I hope your time invested was worth it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now, as I told you, tell all your friends and relatives to check it out from network and give them the incentive to do that.
Definitely. That is pakka.
Thank you, sir.